It's Astrology Roast. I think it needs to sound like a shitty intro, like a funny shitty intro.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Astrology Roast. My name's Karen.
My name is Itai.
And as always, we are absolutely delighted to be with all of you. Now, this week we have, well, I'll just introduce you as Max because those who know you will just be very excited just to hear your name. But Max, you are so many things. You are a begrudged academic. You are an activist. You are one of the most fashionable people that I know. You have abs of steel. You are getting freaking out that I'm saying all these things, but
You're describing a Sagittarius.
I am describing the best Sagittarius. Me and you have lived together. We've shared anxieties, our feelings. You've taught me everything I know about a lot that I didn't know and my privilege.
Oh, you're also French. Did you say he's French?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even say that you were French. You're half French.
So Max is also half French.
Hello.
Yes. So he's very stylish, like the people in Paris.
Yes, he's drinking Coke at the moment and wearing a turtleneck, just like the people in Paris do, as I imagine.
And it's not even Diet Coke or Coke Zero, it's just like red Coke. It's like
this is so uncomfortable for me.
So we do love you and we're happy to have you.
I love you.
And there's so many themes and topics that you are, I would say, professional about. Like even behind you right now, you're sitting, there's a wall of your ideas about queer theories and television. But there's something I think about a little bit more than most people.
You mean mothers?
Mothers.
Crazy mothers.
Crazy mothers and crazy families. Before, I want to make a clarification. In the preparation for this episode, I was thinking about moms and about mothers and how they presented even saying a crazy mother, it's such a classic phrase. You don't really hear the word crazy father or crazy dad.
More deadbeat dad, absent dad.
Yeah, so I went into the sources of knowledge that I know to be true, which is pop songs and the Spice Girls discography. Discography is the right way to say it. And obviously to their song Mama.
Oh.
Mama, I love you, Mama, I care, and you used to be my enemy, but yeah. And obviously I went to the Wikipedia page and I realized that this was also written by two white men. So I couldn't get a lot from that about mothers and about the relationship with mothers. So I guess we just have to go back to our own mothers and to what we know to be true, which is just life.
But it's such that song, you used to be my only enemy, never let me be free, catching me in places that I knew I shouldn't be. Now, Max, does any of that ring true to you when thinking about your mum? So for those who aren't aware, Max's mum is a well-known
drag queen.
Well-known artist, I was going to say. Provocateur. Australian woman living in France.
Yeah. A powerhouse of a woman, for sure. Also, I think I describe my relationship to her these days. Look, I moved literally across the globe to escape her clutches. I love her to death, but that feels like a safe distance, 16,000 kilometers.
And love her to death, There's such, appropriate polarities there.
Anyway. And she does, the way I describe my relationship to her is I feel like I cut the umbilical cord, but she then, grabbed it from the ground, made a lasso with it, and just, is chasing me with it,
Well, she's a Capricorn. You called her a powerhouse of a woman. And I think a Capricorn is the powerhouse of the zodiac. Do you have any example of that, that motion? It's a beautiful visuals of a woman throwing an umbilical cord lasso to grab her son all the way across the ocean from Australia to France. Do you have any examples of that action?
Well, okay. So I went back to Paris 3 years ago or something. So I was staying in my parents' place, which didn't work out very well.
When does it?
Exactly. But when I left my former bedroom to go into a sort of independent studio in the house, because I was I need my own private space. The day that I moved into the independent studio, which is, again, inside the same house, my mum cried, saying, "You're leaving me again. And I was like, I'm literally moving 10 meters away. You don't even need to go onto the street to go to my place, right? And she's like, you might as well have gone back to Melbourne. You'll never go and see me, etc. And so, anyway, so that happened. Then I moved back to Melbourne, and I had left behind a box of my some clothes and books that I couldn't carry with me on the plane. And I asked her, can you just send everything to me? And of course, like teary, departure at the airport and that kind of stuff. And 3 months later, I received a phone call from her saying, okay, well, we sent you everything via the postmail, like plane mail. And by everything, she literally meant everything that I had ever touched in the house. And so it was 5 suitcases worth of clothes and books and old trinkets, old toys that I had when I was 5.
Oh my gosh.
She's really cutting you off.
Yeah, and then 2 months later, she warned me that she has now adopted a new dog, and that dog is her new furry son. So,
She's very practical in a way, but also completely impractical. And I think my mom is also a Capricorn, but I think from what I heard about your mom, they're very different types of Capricorn, but I can relate in the way of that no distance is far. Like they don't really see the practical hurdles as there. They really ignore them. If they want to send you 5 suitcases, they would not care. They will just send it.
Yeah, I feel like your mum, Max, would send 5 suitcases of all of your trinkets. Itai, your mum sends 5 million boxes of cookies and scrap worked
My mom
pictures of you when you were a kid, and it's the same impact. Is this is my lasso? You are my son. You will always be my son, and I own you, and I created you, and I will destroy you if I choose.
If I need to. My mom, when I was celebrating 28 in Australia, I got a phone call from this unknown number, or it was a text, and the text was like, hey, I have something to give you from this unknown number. And I was like, okay, who are you? It was on my birthday, so I was suspecting that my mom's behind this. She literally posted on Facebook, I need to find someone in Melbourne to transfer them money for them to buy something for my son on his birthday. But it was such a Capricorn gift because she transferred to this 18-year-old girl $200 to buy me groceries. It was a box full of rice and cookies and tomato sauce and just like groceries. It was like, here's your birthday. These are vegan groceries. She was like, was it all vegan? I told this girl it all has to be vegan. And there's still stuff in our...
And who ends up eating it and paying the price? Me.
Yeah.
Me with like a tub of peanut butter.
I was like, such a Capricorn gift, like $200 worth of groceries. But in her defense, she also recorded all my friends and made a video and made an album and cookies and everything. But so that was just a little bit of the gift, but very Capricorn. Now, there's also something about family that I think a lot of people are scared to admit, which is you grow up, you're born, and you feel this like, this is supposed to be your safety bubble. This is supposed to be your nurturing bubble.
We're just rolling our eyes while you say that. Me and Max are just like, what? What is this bubble you speak of?
I've never been in this bubble. But there's these girls that are like, oh my God, I'm such a daddy girl. Or like these boys that are like, oh, my mom is everything to me. And like...
You mean gay men?
Gay men, obviously. That's why they're gay, because they had such strong moms, as my doctor once asked me when I was going to check my skin. But
such a sexist thing to say. Anyway, yeah.
But then sometime you realize that the safest people could also be, I don't know, the most triggering people or the most harmful people. And suddenly you go home and you feel like you're suffocated to death. So
it's basically your family's your roots, right? So sometimes you don't need to go down into the tree back to the roots, because that's where the poison also comes.
Definitely.
It's more about the branches and leaves, the roots always keep dragging you down.
Isn't your mum, didn't she say she's going to be listening to the podcast today? So we have referred to her in a couple of ways already.
Look, she may or she may not, depending on how this episode goes.
The way the wind is going.
Were there any moments in your life that you realized, okay, my mom is this source of life, but it's also this source of other things as well that might be not as comfortable?
So anytime that she calls me here, when I'm here, and that I miss the call, then I know now that if it's under 16 missed calls in a row, it's not an emergency. So I understand that this comes from a place of love, that she's redial happy, but it's also a case of maybe chill out, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe I am not an extension of you, maybe.
And I feel like I have to defend your mother a bit because in addition to all the stories that you've shared, she is also a prolific artist. She has replaced you with dogs that she has trained and has won competitions for sheep herding dogs. She sends you some of the most wonderful accessories that you've worn, Vivienne Westwood earrings, leggings and tops. So there's a lot to this woman.
I mean, I like the way that you're characterizing the gifts, by the way. They are usually unwearable, but quite wonderful attention catchers, for sure. Yeah.
I think we need to remember that this is also a part of growing up, realizing our parents are just people. And they're just, sometimes we idolize them, we think, oh, they're this big thing, but they're actually just people with anxieties, with fears, with joys. Like, I remember the time that my mom sent a picture to our WhatsApp family group and wrote, I decided to indulge today. And it was a picture of a soup in a bun in IKEA. She decided to drive to IKEA to have a little walk and get a bowl of bread and a soup inside of it. And that was her indulging. And I was like, oh, so that's why I feel guilty every time I take a taxi. That's why I think that like massage is something for royalty. Like, they're just people. They have their star signs and they act on it.
So I was diagnosed a few years back with anxiety and depression disorders, and I decided I should call my mum and tell her about this, right?
No, that's your mistake.
Absolutely. So I explained that thinking, again, family is where love is, right? So I'll get support. And she said, oh, well, yes, I have that too.
I had that first.
Absolutely. You're completely right. I had that first. And to which I said, well, this is not a competition. She says, I know it's not a competition, but if it were, I'd be winning. That was her support,
And look, we dare mention your mum's mum as well, who was a very special woman living in Queensland. I don't know if that's too sensitive to bring up, but...
I mean, I can, but like a lot of the stories have to do with outrageous levels of racism.
Yeah, let's not go there.
We're not a racist podcast.
What I would like to mention is, you've referred to your mum as a powerhouse, Max. I mean, Itai, your mum as well, huge powerhouse. Your mum, such a powerhouse that I recall she took on, the head of some of the biggest art institutions in Melbourne. Do we dare explore some of that? So.
Yeah, okay, well, hang on. As I'm pulling up this email, I'll just try to give a backstory. So her sculpture is on the Ian Potter Museum front wall, like the facade on Swanston Street. She wanted to apply for a fellowship in Antarctica. Because why not?
Take the dogs.
No, take me. She wanted me to be her assistant. So, which on the one hand, experience of a lifetime, right? Like, who gets to go to Antarctica? Then, thinking about it a bit more, I'm quite glad it all fell through, because spending 3 months in a military base with, like army people, scientists, and my mum, like, this
on top of all of it.
Yeah.
That lasso.
Anyway.
Such creative ways to
How can I get
I'll go to the most coldest place on earth where even if he needs to urinate, his urine will turn into ice when he goes outside. So he will have to stay close to me within 10 meters. Wow. She's amazing.
Capricorn, guys, this is a Capricorn mother. Nothing will stop. And that is a great trait as well. Like they don't see obstacles.
So part of the application process was she had to prove that she had a place to exhibit whatever art she would create based on that experience in Antarctica. So she contacted the Ian Potter Museum because the sculpture is on it. That didn't go well, to the point where eventually she called me saying, well, that's it, then I am going to ask for someone to rip off the sculpture from the wall, like they can all go fuck themselves, etc. So I'm just going to read you the last email that she sent to the head person at the Ian Potter Museum.
Please do.
His name Sorry, but his name is Christopher Menz. So this is after a lot of back and forth between the two of them, where he was quite polite at first and then stopped answering for a long time, past the deadline for the Antarctica Fellowship. So my mum was quite pissed with him at this stage. So far all of the emails